Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where it's about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Fear the Walking Dead. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, well, first and foremost, let's talk about the opening where we get a little background in, when it comes to Teddy. Obviously, him writing in his journal, those manifestos of sorts he's writing, and, this is well after the fact that he's been in jail for a while. He's actually nearing his end because it's like, because a guy that, what's his name, Hayes or whatever, is walking by being like, yeah, sooner or later it's going to be your time to kind of walk this walk. Like, will you still believe in the end is the beginning? Because he's looking at death as like, oh, this is a fresh start and everything. So, and he had a picture of a woman. At first I was like, is that supposed to be your love? We ended up finding out later on. Well, to a certain extent, yes, but it's its mom. And so, obviously the world turned upside down. Obviously he was watching the news and heard reports about like, oh yeah, like patients in hospitals getting like super aggressive and stuff like that. Sadly, what jump started this, I mean, there's probably other contributing factors, but George ended up getting executed. He came back, bit some of the cops involved, and obviously that led to, the cells were opening because I guess like when people died, they were accidentally maybe hitting buttons and opening cell doors, or maybe it's like or maybe someone was thinking, well, there's all this crap happening. We need to feed some of these inmates to the wolves, so let them be our distraction as we get away. We know that Teddy's cell door opens, and he's like, yeah, like he was telling Teddy, he's like, yeah, well, Teddy's already became a walker, but then also he killed Hayes, and he's saying like, oh, what I believe in isn't BS, it's a revelation. So in the moment, and he talks about it later on, in a moment where he was kind of giving up because he believed like, oh, this is like he believed in what he believed in, but it was also like, right, I guess it wasn't meant to be, but it's like, no, I was right all along. All I had to do was be patient, and the world, and I think for him, he saw it as even more of a sign to believe, like it made his faith grow even more, that at the end of the day, like the world became what it became, and he's seeing like, oh, the dead come back and everything. So like, the world has changed. This is my opportunity. I couldn't change the world before, but now the world has changed, and he talks about it shifting into a world where he can essentially thrive. So I think that conversation has come up before about people who, the worlds they live in, like the world not being what it was before, but the world shifting into a place where a lot of people found their own. They found, I mean, you make arguments, and it's not a one for one, but look at Ezekiel. He was a zookeeper, and he became a king in this world. It's still a thing of like, I'm sure he'd want the world to still be what it was, but it is a thing that this world allowed a lot of people to grow stronger, to become something they weren't before, to become something more than what they were before. So it's a theme that has been throughout The Walking Dead. Obviously we've seen more positive sides of it, but we've also seen the negative sides of what this world has turned people into. You get your it birthed, Negan and made him into who he is now. Well, what we had previously known him as, and that's a constantly evolving thing. And obviously, some people maintain a little of who they were, some people lost a little of who they were along the way. So, just interesting stuff. Riley came to visit her from time to time to get Alicia to side with Teddy, but she wouldn't. But so Teddy decides to show up himself because like, you're not going to eat or anything. But it's like Riley wants her just to be put down. It's like she'll never believe your words. But for him, it's like, no, he is invested in Alicia. Because my initial thought was, if you can convince Alicia, convincing a non-believer will make your cause that much stronger. Because if you can change her mind about things, then it makes it all worthwhile in the end. But there ends up being a lot more to Teddy's madness. So they're about to ship out, gives the key to Riley. I'm wondering, does this take place before episode 12? Where Morgan handed over, because Riley's not hurt like he was. I don't believe so. Yeah, like I think this, once again, it's always interesting, the time frame and stuff like that in some of these shows. But I think this episode takes place before episode 12, so he hasn't gotten the other key from Morgan yet. Well, not unless that's the only key. Like, I guess that maybe. So where's the other key then? Because there are two keys. Not unless he already has one, he just needed one from Morgan. Not unless that is the one Morgan had, and that there's still the other one out there. That's what's kind of confusing me. I'm not sure if I'm right in kind of my understanding on the time frame. But lo and behold, who shows up? Dakota. At first I was like, oh, she's here to help because she was actually sent here, but it turns out, no, she kind of went off on her own. Especially interesting timing, too, considering, I'm trying to think in retrospect, I'm trying to remember, was she there last episode? I don't think she was. So she probably snuck off before all this information came out about, like, what's what, like, you know, before JD showed up last episode, which... I missed his name last episode, but I saw it this episode, Keith Carradine. I was like, right. Oh, Carradine. I was like, right. I forgot you're David Carradine's brother. I completely forgot about that until I saw his name. I was like, right. I remember learning that years ago. I just completely and utterly forgot. But yeah. Nevertheless, you actually know it's actually kind of interesting when you actually break it down and think about it. Like, interesting timing because, like, oh yeah, Keith Carradine is in this, and then like, oh yeah, at the same time, a show that's currently airing right now is Kung Fu. It's a reboot of like the show that David Carradine starred in back in the 70s. So it's interesting timing, and like I'm connecting dots that aren't necessarily need to be connected, but I just thought it was kind of interesting when you think about it. But she's showing up there because she's like, I'm going to help and everything. So, like, she's like, she snuck off on her own so no one knows she's here. So she was, like, following some people and hoping that she would find Alicia. But it's like, right, I didn't. So, like, okay, I convinced them I want to join and everything. Because for her, she's trying to make up for it. But Alicia puts it out there, like, right, she killed a friend of mine. Oh, and tried to kill her own mother. Which, for Teddy, it's like, hey, I like your spunk kid type of situation. So Alicia wants nothing to do with her. There's no like us thing, which is interesting because immediately you can't help but think of like the parallels to Charlie. It's like you felt the same way with Charlie, and it's like they're trying to pair you up with another person. Like I guess it's like you get one. I guess it's like the universe gets one kid killing someone that I'm close to and care about. That's like family. In Charlie's case, it was straight up family, but the universe gets one. I'm not going to do it with a second one, especially because also she feels at least the whole Charlie thing was like multiple people. It wasn't just her. Her entire family trusted her. So, but like trusting in Dakota was like something she solely kind of did. So that's why she feels even more, I think, of a personal responsibility for what Dakota did, killing John, more so than like Charlie. To be fair, it wasn't there was a crazy circumstances of what's going on now that's led to everything, but regardless, they're kind of off on their own, and it's like, wait, we're driving in the general area of like where the stadium is, and he's like, oh, stadium? She's like, don't play dumb. You listen to the tapes from Riley. It's like you probably heard from Luciana about like the stadium. It's like, oh yeah, where your mom drew stuff and stuff like that. He's like, yeah, maybe it is kind of a coincidence, and she doesn't believe that. But they eventually go and unbury a body, and it's his mother's body, and it's like, you know, he wants to bring her into the new world. Essentially, he talks about basically bringing what he loves into the new world and basically destroying everything else that he doesn't love. And it's like, you know, Alicia keeps asking the question, what is it you're trying to do? What, you know, I even thought it was interesting because Dakota made it seem like she was all about doing something, but it's like she had ample opportunity, but even though she kept being like, oh, he's just an old crazy guy, we can take him out, but Alicia was like, stay out of my way, do whatever you want to. But I guess it's also like, right, we need to find out what he knows. So she was probably following Alicia's lead to a certain extent. But obviously they have a flat tire. And lo and behold, who ends up showing up other than Nicole? I was like, what? We haven't seen you since season 4. That's crazy. Huh. Interesting. The Walking Dead has a tendency to do that, bring in characters you haven't seen in a while. And interestingly enough, just to end up killing them. I'm kind of jumping ahead, but it's like, oh, the moment she ran into Cole, and it's like, holy crap, it's like, yeah, this is one of the people my mother says. It's like, yeah, if it wasn't for your mom, we wouldn't have gotten away. But we did try to come back and look for you guys, like you, Nick, Luciana, and Victor. It's like, where is Victor, by the way? It's like, yeah, off kind of doing his own thing. It's like, yeah, that's what he always says. So I was like, because the moment he showed up, she said Cole. I was like, Cole, as in Victor's Cole? Oh, sadly, that reunion is never going to happen. I wonder, is Victor going to find out about it? But regardless. He's like, the moment Cole was like, yeah, there's some unscrupulous types, unsavory types out here. It's like, you're part of that. Yeah, just because the fact of the matter is the world can lead you down a dark path. So immediately I was like, the moment he's mentioned those unsavory types, I was like, this is a trap. Like, he's a part of this unsavory type. Obviously, he's talking with Alicia about like, not like, it's like, oh, you want to hurt this guy? It's like, no, I can't. I need to figure out what he's up to. He plans on hurting a lot of people, and Alicia it kind of feels like a personal responsibility. I'm in this position where I can help change some things. I can do some good. So I need to keep him alive long enough, because even if we kill him, obviously he's left everything in Riley's hands, so Riley knows what is necessary to go down. So it's like, it's still going to go down without him around. So when at the same time, while they're having their conversation, catching up about everything, there's a whole situation with Dakota and him hitting it off, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. Because I was like, Alicia might not be the one that buys into his BS, but Dakota might be. Just considering, like, let's face it, she's a messed up kid in her own right. So yes, Alicia's in a vulnerable enough position, but she's holding on to a lot of her mom's principles, and that's not going to be shaken to a certain extent. But Dakota's just kind of a wild card. But for her, it's like, yeah, she even admits, like, she doesn't feel bad about John. It's like, wow, okay, kid, you're really on my shit list. It's like, you don't feel bad for killing John. She's like, I did what was necessary. It's like, killed him for what? Because he was going to expose you for what you did. It didn't work out because you still ended up screwed. Because for her, it's like, I was locked up by my sister for so long, so she finds a commonality between her. It's like, yeah, she's killed people before, but she's like, only killed those were necessary. She killed one person that was near, that was, one person that she was close to, even considered family at one point in time, but she thought it was kind of a necessary thing. It's like, no, John might have helped you through it. Like, you never gave him a chance. Maybe for her, it's like, he would have told everyone, and I would have been, it seems like I guess it's like the closest thing she had to a family and a home was with Morgan and them, and it's like, I almost had that place, but if John would have exposed me, I would have lost that. You lost it by killing John, so it doesn't matter anyway, and it was kind of all for nothing considering, like, you got exposed anyway. But it just breaks your heart even more to hear that. It's like, at least Charlie was eventually, like, redeeming herself, because Charlie, like, stopped talking after what happened. And once again, the interesting parallels, because June and John were looking after Charlie, and it's like, oh yeah, like, this particular person that John was caring for ended up shooting him. That was kind of, it's just interesting, like, how the world ends up working in that regard. But and also, like, for June to be the one that ends up killing her mom, as they were kind of potentially having the opportunity to kind of bridge the gap between them. Who knows if they would have ever been able to fix things? Who knows if maybe Virginia would have been able to kind of put Dakota back on the right path? Like, without her mom around, she's kind of, death begets more death and violence. It's just, and it kind of fits into what Teddy's talking about, just kind of like the cycle of the world. Because the moment they get to the shop to fix the car and everything, lo and behold, Viv and her hubby is still alive, and it's like, yep, Cole, it's like, yeah, that unsavory types, I'm one of them. And she's like, how did this happen to you? It's like, yeah, after your mom saved us, we stuck around the relative area to come look for you guys, but then we got jumped by some people who killed us. And so it becomes this cycle of like, oh, we got screwed over, so we're going to screw other people over. And it got to the point they talked about later on that, yeah, we let some of the people that we stole from go. They came back for vengeance, and killed some, so we had to kill them in response. So it's a tick for tat type of world where it's just kind of like handling things the way they have before. It's like, that's not how it's like, it's die or survive. It's do or die is what I kind of meant. It's eat or be eaten, kill or be killed type of world, So, and obviously it pisses Alicia off, because it's like, my mom died to give you guys a second chance. What we were building, you were supposed to go out there and continue that, but you didn't. In fact, you actually became what we fought so hard not to be. Especially Madison fought so hard not to be that type of way. She made a lot of decisions, yes, to protect her family, do what she believed was right at the time, but she tried to correct that and not go down that path. It's like, you saw what the vultures did to us and everything, and you went off and became those exact people. Like, what did my mom sacrifice her life for? And it's like, well, maybe she should have let us die. And it's like, that's not the moral that you should be pulling from this story. Like, oh, maybe she made a mistake by letting us live. It's like, no, you were supposed to go out there and do good. Especially for Alicia, because she was so lost after what happened to her mom. So it's interesting to see, like, Alicia kind of pivoting to where she is now, and she was kind of on a better path. But maybe the argument is maybe not. Like, obviously, like, it still weighs heavy on her. Like, you don't get over losing your mom, and then eventually, like, sometime afterwards, eventually losing your brother, the only biological family you have left, in this world. especially because your mom sacrificed herself for you and your brother, and for your brother to be gone. It just makes, like, she has kind of had to take the weight of carrying all that on her own, you know? And obviously that led to her just being on, like, I'm going to kill, but, like, you know, she got tired of that, but now she's kind of swerved back to kind of finding her own way forward. And we see, like, Cole and them found their own way forward. So for him, he's still offering her a place amongst their group. It's like, because obviously she's not trying to let it slip, like, right, considering who you guys are right now, I can't let you know about Morgan and them, because if I do, not only you, but also, like, the end is the beginning. This cult group is going to, like, find their way to Morgan. So it's like, she could, but it's like she was just trying to give them another option. Like, you don't have to do this, but they were kind of already too far gone. Just showing you what the world kind of does to you. Like I said, I brought up, like, there's a lot of parallels you can make even to the original Walking Dead, because this is very similar to, like, Rick running into Morales, and it's like, wait, after all these years, like, oh, here we are, kind of like, hey, because we hadn't seen him since, like, what, season 2, and then, like, for Rick to kind of run into him again, and for things to play out the way it did, obviously a very similar situation in this case. But I thought it was kind of interesting because Teddy was super, like, poking the bear. But for him, it's like, I was looking for proof to make you realize, like, the way everything was, like, your beliefs and everything, why they were wrong. And I figured, like, he's like, right, it wasn't a coincidence we ended up where we are. I was thinking that maybe I'd find one of your dead friends dead or something. Like, that's why he chose that area, to find a place where it's like, right, you believed in all of this, like, hoping they went out there and did some good, but nope, here they are dead. But like, oh, no, and behold, I didn't expect to find one of your friends alive. But for him, it also served the purpose well, because it's like, oh, this thing you believed in, you so wholeheartedly hold on to your mom's belief. Look at what it meant. It mattered to nothing. Your mom sacrificed herself for nothing because they became monsters in their own right. She tried to get people to continue, like, this belief, and this world kind of beats you down until it changes you into something. A lot of people fight back against that. I mean, the argument could be Morgan's already on a slippery slope because he's killing again. You know, so maybe there's some argument because he's had to adapt to everything that's come down in this world, you know, so it's an interesting development. But, like, the fact is that he kept acting like he was so in control. I mean, to be fair, he was fine with dying because he believes in, like, oh yeah, like, you'd kind of be helping me out anyway, but also, like, everything I've got planned is automatically going to go through regardless if I'm alive or not. So they're about to kill them all, but they use this opportunity, and the walkers that walk up end up killing most of the other group, and it comes down to Alicia and Cole, and she, you know, it's for her, it's just kind of like, because she tried to give him the opportunity to just take the truck and leave. We won't come after him, right, Teddy? And Teddy's like, well, I can't make promises I can't make sure that I can keep. So, you know, but in the moment he's telling Alicia to kill him, because of what he represents and everything. So, and even Cole being like, maybe you should listen to your friend. And he was kind of lifting up the gun, and Alicia had no choice but to put him down, which, you know, multiple things Teddy's so excited about. He's like, this is proof that you are the right person. And it's like, I didn't want to kill him. It's like, you know, and even later on, Riley's like, she would have killed you. He was like, yes. Like, that's why he likes Alicia so much. It's like, you don't just submit to my ideas. You fight against him. You challenged him. You are willing to kill me because you are someone that is willing to do what is necessary. Because it's like, you are wrong about wanting to kill everyone, just people like Cole. Like, it's like, kill the bad seeds of the world so the good seeds can grow. But that can turn into a complicated thing, because killing people, obviously for Alicia, it's not an easy thing, because this is someone she considered a friend at one point in time, and to see what the world made him into, like, it's like, yes, he had his own choices, but it's still a thing of, right, the world, the bad seeds corrupted him, but it's also the thing of, like, right, you let yourself become corrupted. Like, you had my mom's beliefs, you knew what she represented, what she wanted, and you and everyone else became this. I know what happened to you is terrible, but we've all kind of gone through our tragedies, and that doesn't automatically turn us all into monsters. We find a way to hold on to our humanity throughout it all, you know? So I think that's such a, you know, fascinating element to it. But now, like, she's trying to Dakota's justifying and being like, oh, see, you finally understand. It's like, no, like, I did what I had to do. Like, essentially, like, I didn't have a choice, basically, in that matter. She was telling Dakota, like, you did. You had multiple choices and you decided to do what you did. You decided to kill Cameron, and that led to, like, Janice dying. Like, an innocent woman died because of you, because your sister was doing what she could to try and protect you. Like, you started all this, and then you killed John. You know, so it's like, you know. But when the time came, Alicia finds out the truth. It's not nuclear weapons, but it is kind of in a similar vein of what I thought. They unlock, like, a submarine that has a missile, and for him it's like, oh, I'm going to basically blow up the world. I mean, it might be nuclear enough that, like, well, because, I mean, he said a missile. It didn't sound like he said multiple missiles. So we would assume it had to be, like, some kind of, like, biological weapon or something, because it seems like he's going to, like, it seems like the point would be, like, to, like, release something that would eventually spread in the air and kind of, like, kill everything and everyone. I figured as much. He wants to start fresh, giving the world wiping the world a new slate clean. But in a moment, Dakota has a gun pointed at Alicia, and he's like, no, it's okay. I'm fine with this. You know, because it all kind of went into his calculations, which also shows you how crazy he's crazy, but his mind is still pretty there. Also, like, Cole shooting a dead body. I skipped over that. It's like, oh, actually, that's not my mom. It's like, wait, what? You lied? It's like, not really. But yeah, that's not my mom. My mom's buried in, like, a family specific area. But what was also we got into is, like, once again, like, his plans and everything. But also we find out his mom was actually his first victim, because she saw what he was writing in his notebooks, and she was trying to get him locked up in a psychiatric place or whatever, and he killed her. And he was thinking, like, oh, people are going to find her body. But then, like, spring came, and what rose from it, and the moment he's talking like that was like, flowers grew from her body. So for him, it's like, oh my God, through death, the end is the beginning, because when you come to an end, like, you know, and he talks about the cycle. That's the whole thing about, like, right, like, the dead can be used to make, could be kind of used as soil and fertilizer for, like, growing. Like, hence, that's why they were able to kind of make their vegetables and stuff underground and stuff. So we see where that philosophy kind of comes from, like, the beauty of, like, what can come about because of death, what can grow from death. And that's what his whole thing is about. And Alicia gets in contact with Victor and tells him what's what, but then Dakota's like, don't worry about it. It's Victor. He's going to get as far away. That's the thing. Victor isn't as simple as you. Yes, he's complicated. Maybe, like, Morgan was trying to get everyone united, but it didn't work. But to be fair, something Dakota didn't account for is the fact is they have more information on that group now, where it's like they've got JD who knows Teddy and understands what he's all about. So that might be like having a force like him on the side might, because I didn't see a preview for the next I didn't watch the preview for the next episode, but I'm assuming we might get a Victor episode now that he has this information, probably the decision of what he's going to do in the long run. Because obviously he cares for Alicia, but he is and kind of always has been and kind of always will be the self-preservating person that he is. But it is a thing that, like, he will justify a lot that he does, because it's like, what I do is also for the greater good in its own right. So maybe you can draw the parallels between you have Morgan doing his thing, Strand doing his thing, Teddy doing his thing. So that's definitely going to be interesting. But when the time comes, he brings Alicia to, like, the new bunker they found, because it was, like, something Uncle Sam had built. He's like, yeah, he was right that we were going to need it, just didn't know about the time frame, because apparently it got built in, like, the 1950s, and didn't necessarily, knew that the world was going to come to its end, its destruction. The fact is that he had Dakota waiting outside, made me kind of go, like, are you about to kill Dakota or something? Because, like, you got Alicia, and that's kind of what you want and need. But, he's like, yeah, basically the world kind of talked about, like, the universe and everything, like, how just interesting things work out, because it's like, the universe sent him the sign in the form of Cole that allowed him to kind of show Alicia just, how wrong her philosophy and view on things kind of was. But also, if it wasn't for Alicia burning that place down, they would have never found this. It's even better than their previous place underground, this bunker, so. But the reason why he wants to keep Alicia, it's like, I'm the end. I can't also be the beginning. That's where you come into play. And she's like, what? I'm not going to help you finish it. I was like, oh, yes, you are. Because for him, it's like, you are perfect the way, because of your philosophy of you get rid of people like Cole who are kind of the bad seeds of the world. You can also, but you keep that light alive. So in a weird twisted way, he's trying to like bring hope. Like you can be the new start for everyone. You can keep the hope alive while also doing what is necessary to rid the world of the bad seeds. Like you can, but that also puts her in a position to be judge, jury, and executioner. Like people that don't fit her mold, like of what it's setting her up to be kind of like very dictator and very like totalitarianism, like a bit of a totalitarianism in a sense that like she gets to decide like, oh, you don't buy my rules, you're dead, but it's not so black and white. There are shades of gray when it comes to like where, Alicia is like, I'm willing to do what's kind of necessary, very much like her mom and a lot of people that they've come across. Once again, very similar to how Morgan's shifted a lot, Which I think it's interesting because Morgan's in this position to kind of be the leader that's building his own community, and now Alicia's kind of being heralded to be this other, like, bridge and light in her own right, which I think is so fascinating. But, like, Alicia's like, I'm not going to rebuild the world the way you want me to. And he's like, that's my point. He's like, I don't... Like, he sees who she is, and it's like, you can bring so much good to the world, so when I do end it, you will be the one to kind of lead it and forge it into what you believe. Because for him, it's like, I was locked up, and by the time I came out, the world had shifted and become a place that was better suited for me. And he's like, when you come out of here, the world would be better suited for you and what you need to lead this world towards this new beginning, So, interesting developments on that front. Like I said, I get the feeling like I said, having not seen the preview, I'm assuming we're going to get some time with Victor and see what he's up to, especially considering this message got sent. Once again, I'm curious whether the time frame is what I think it is, whether or not this takes place before episode, this happens before episode 12, or whether that key that Riley has is the one from Morgan and they need to find the other one, or do they already have it and now they have to just get the one from Morgan, so they haven't gotten it. Like, because I feel like Teddy would be injured if that was the case, but I mean, who knows how much time frame has passed. But I think it has to be a thing if he hasn't gotten the key yet. Like I said, if I'm not mistaken, which I totally could be. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.